It is Friday, December 6, 2013. It is a little after 7 o'clock in the evening, 7:11 exactly. I am in the middle of my alternative spiritual practice of protesting against Unitarian Universalists injustice, abuses, and hypocrisy near the Unitarian Church of Montreal. I normally do this in front of the church, but tonight I began my protest in the back of the church because the front entrance is somewhat less than reasonably accessible. But in fact, having been here for an hour, I'm actually going to go have a look at the front and see if perhaps people are coming in the front entrance or leaving the front entrance, because I've been here, as I said, for well, over an hour now, and there haven't been a whole lot of people entering or leaving the church. So I'm just going to see what may be happening in terms of people entering and leaving at the front, and I may switch positions. So we're just going to go have a look, keep the camera running. It is the Fifth Day of Chalica. This is a fairly recent Unitarian Universalist holiday, in quotation marks, observance. It's essentially a 7-day period, starting with the first Monday in December, and each day, starting with the first Monday in December and running through the first Sunday in December. The idea is to commemorate each Unitarian Universalist principle. So we see some people coming this way. As we can see, here's the construction. Quite a mess. We even have some water here pouring out. Sidewalks kind of disrupted here. So I wasn't really expecting a lot of people coming in and out this way. But we're going to go have a look. And I'll decide if I want to continue my protest in front or go back to where I was. All things considered, I think we're probably going to go back to the parking lot area. But I just want to see. Aha! So it looks like they did erase my writing. Yes, they did. Okay, because I had actually written a slogan here before going to the well, this is nice. So basically I wrote Unitarians condone clergy abuse, and now you can barely read it. So they obviously didn't want people to see that slogan. This is what's known as censorship, basically trying to hide unpleasant information about your organization. Now today it's the fifth day of Chalica, and I can see that there's oh yes, there's that nice banner. So I think we're gonna protest here, because it does look like people are likely entering and leaving the front entrance, even though there is this construction that does limit access somewhat. We got a fire truck going by here, and a bunch of construction machines that are sitting idle, and so on. But nonetheless, we got this pipe. But nonetheless, the way things look, it would appear that the people at the church actually want people to come in the front entrance. I was figuring they were more likely to suggest people came in the rear entrance as a result of all this mess, but apparently not. So we're going to set up our picket signs, and we are going to rewrite our chalk slogans that were erased. And then one thing I find interesting is, as I said, we were talking about Chalica, this being the fifth day of Chalica, which is dedicated to the right of conscience and use of the democratic process in Unitarian Universalist congregations and society at large. So essentially, that includes peaceful public protest. Peaceful public protest is part of the democratic process. It's basically one of the last resorts of the democratic process. And we can see here, we got this big mess of this branch down too. It's really not very welcoming out here. But anyway, getting back to Chalica, and then the reason I'm protesting tonight, you know, I am protesting specifically tonight, specifically now, because it is the Fifth Day of Chalica, and Unitarian Universalists at the Unitarian Church of Montreal, and also at the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, also known as the UUA, have repeatedly and quite continuously tried to suppress my ability to actually exercise my right of conscience and to engage in peaceful public protest. So I'm protesting tonight as a result of Unitarian Universalists trying to prevent me from protesting. Kind of ironic. And coming back to that chalk slogan they raised, well, you know, that's part of the whole deal. The chalk slogan is part of my protest, and by erasing it, they are essentially trying to hide my protest, which is what they've been doing from day one. So it's just another example of how Unitarian Universalists make a total mockery of the fifth principle, to say nothing of various other principles, you know, by doing their very, very best to censor and suppress my criticism, as this picket sign right here says. You use censor and suppress critics. That picket sign has been around for quite a while, and it's entirely truthful and supported by abundant evidence of Unitarian Universalists trying to censor and suppress my entirely legitimate criticism of Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse, Unitarian Universalist intolerance and bigotry, and various other issues, you know, such as the one that we're talking about tonight. So that's it. We are going to protest here and just get some freestanding signs set up, and then I think I'll chalk a few more slogans so that people can see them when they enter and also when they leave. And then I will grab a couple of my picket signs and walk back and forth with them. So here we have you use censor and suppress critics, which has a great deal to do with tonight's protest. A church that spits in God's eye. That's actually playing off of a headline from the Montreal Mirror in the article that it ran about my protest when it first began. The title of the article was "Spitting in God's Eye," and it was basically suggesting that the Unitarian Church of Montreal is doing just that in a figurative sense. Unitarian prejudice and bigotry sucks UU. Well, yes, there's a bit of a grammatical error there. Should be just suck U asterisk U, because it's plural, 2 words. But yes, that sign's going to get corrected. But anyway, Unitarian prejudice and bigotry suck U asterisk U. No shortage of prejudice and bigotry that I've experienced and also witnessed in terms of Unitarians being bigoted towards other people. Unitarian perversion of justice sucks U asterisk U. Well, again, that comes into tonight's protest in terms of the ways that Montreal Unitarians and in fact the Unitarian Universalist Association have gone to very shameful lengths to literally pervert justice, you know, literally, you know, misuse and abuse the criminal code of Canada to try and shut down this protest, have told lies in sworn testimony to try and get the court to force an end to my protest. So yes, that's just, you know, basically perversion of justice in terms of the actual court system, but they've also perverted justice within the church, you know, community itself, where of course they have much more ability and control to do just that. Unitarian bullying and bigotry suck you asterisk you. When I say bullying, I'm basically referring to all forms of bullying, including legal bullying. The Unitarian Church of Montreal and also the UUA have engaged in some quite egregious legal bullying. Good evening, still at it. Yeah, well, it's not that funny, really. I mean, it
would be nice for you to get a life.
It'd be nice for me to get a life? I think it'd be nice if you people actually lived up to your principles for a change.
You know, we try.
No, you don't.
I don't know whether you
I wouldn't be here if you tried. I wouldn't be here at all. So here's a Unitarian. Oh, I can judge you. You just judged me. I damn well will judge you and every other Unitarian Universalist that deserves a certain amount of judgment. So, yeah, I'm not talking to you, don't worry. I'm talking to a woman that just entered the church. So, yes, that was Sheila Larson, who's actually from the West Island church and who decided to tell me to get a life. Typical dismissive response. A typical willfully ignorant response as well. You know, again, here I am, literally exercising my right of conscience in a peaceful public protest against some serious issues. I mean, I just enumerated them. Clergy misconduct, anti-religious intolerance and bigotry, not to mention the misuse and abuse of the legal system to try and shut down this protest. There's 3 serious issues right there. And yet Sheila Larson's telling me to get a life. You know, and then she says we try to, well, no. If you tried to actually live up to your principles, I wouldn't be here. It's that simple. If Unitarian Universalists actually practiced what they preach in the 7 principles and other claimed ideals, this protest would not have started in the first place. But it started as a direct result of Unitarian Universalists not only miserably failing to practice what they preach, but obstinately refusing to practice what they preach. And then it's been extended and escalated as a result of Unitarians continuing to totally flaunt their claimed principles and ideals. You know, this protest began in 1998 over some specific issues, mainly the anti-religious intolerance and bigotry that I'd been subjected to by Reverend Ray Drennan, Frank Green, and other leading members of the church, and then the related clergy misconduct of Reverend Ray Drennan, which was condoned by both the church and the UUA. Well, basically, those were the 2 main issues back in 1998. I mean, you know, I suppose I could have thrown in a certain amount of perversion of justice back then, just in terms of some of the things that the church had done in terms of perverting justice within the church system itself. But this was before I'd been arrested on bogus criminal charges for allegedly disrupting the order and solemnity of the church services. This was before, well before, Reverend Diane Rollard had tried to misuse and abuse the Canadian Criminal Code to shut down my protest. This was before the UUA falsely accusing me of the crime of blasphemous libel in an effort to intimidate me into removing blog posts about some egregious clergy sexual misconduct. No, Unitarian Universalists have repeatedly and continuously not only not tried to live up to their principles, but have tried actually very hard to make a total mockery of them. So we're getting ready to do some chalk here. We got some people coming this way, and I'm just looking for an appropriate picket sign to hold up in case, yeah. So, just let these people pass. So, so they were not entering the church, just ordinary passers-by. So, I think right now, this is actually not a bad little part of my life. I mean, sure, I could be doing some other things, but I think this is actually a worthwhile exercise, a worthwhile use of my time tonight. It's not like I don't have plenty of other hours in the week to do any number of other things. But tonight, we are protesting against the failure of Unitarian Universalists to respect my right of conscience and their quite egregious misuse and abuse of the Canadian Criminal Code and other things to try to force an end to this protest. So that's why we're here tonight. And we're about to chalk a slogan or two. Just sort of waiting until this person passes so I don't obstruct the sidewalk while I'm chalking the slogan. So, hi.
What are you doing
I'm protesting.
Why?
Oh, a variety of reasons. Two main issues, clergy abuse and also intolerance and bigotry on the part of church members and leaders of the church. Clergy abuse, when I say that, I don't mean just the sexual stuff, although it includes that. I'm talking in broader sense, verbal and psychological abuse and so on. Yeah, it's a long story.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thanks for your interest. So, fellow just asked me why I was protesting. I gave him a brief rundown. He obviously didn't have time to stick around to hear more, and maybe just didn't want to. Can't blame him, really. But yeah, just the fact he said, you know, I can imagine, in response to my indicating that there's a bit more to it than that. Yeah, I think he sort of gets the overall picture. So yeah, the problem with chalk slogans is that there's quite a bit of dirt. It was actually difficult to get this one. I think I'm just going to rewrite my initial slogan since, yeah, it's more or less already cleared all that dirt and crap away, so I'll just redo it. So we're just going to write here, Unitarians condone clergy abuse. And crap, I messed it up. Oh well, so much for that. So I'm going to erase my own slogan. I did a little typo there. So much for that. It's the first time I've ever erased one of my slogans. But, okay, so, yeah, I don't think I'm going to bother with the chart slogans for now. We're just going to do the picket sign thing. There's enough passers-by, and as I said, because of the dirt on the sidewalk, it's just not all that practical to write chalk slogans. So, Unitarian perversion of justice sucks U asterisk U will be displayed in my right hand. And I'm just debating, I guess I'm going to, because tonight's issue is right of conscience, I will display UU censor and suppress critics in the other hand. So they're the most appropriate picket signs for tonight's protest. And again, one more time, it is the fifth day of the observance of Chalica. It is dedicated to the fifth principle of Unitarian Universalism, which affirms and promotes the right of conscience and use of the democratic process in Unitarian Universalist congregations and society at large. So essentially, you know, the Unitarian Universalist religious community is upholding everybody's right of conscience and the use of the democratic process, not only in terms of within their church, but in society at large. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I am exercising my right of conscience, my right to say, well, you know, hang on a minute. There are some problems here and they need to be addressed. Amongst them, anti-religious intolerance and bigotry on the part of, how can I put it, hostile atheist Unitarian Universalists. That's one issue. Clergy misconduct, also known as clergy abuse. All forms of clergy misconduct, clergy abuse. People tend to think in terms of the sexual abuse when one speaks of clergy misconduct. And in fact, I think the Unitarian Church, and maybe even some other churches, also themselves try to narrow in on that because they want to make it seem that that's the only clergy misconduct, you know, that's the only clergy abuse, you know, that if it's not sexual abuse, oh well, then it's not a problem, you know. There's definitely an element of that attitude. So I have always, you know, this began as a protest against non-sexual clergy misconduct, non-sexual clergy abuse, specifically verbal and psychological abuse, intolerance and bigotry, abuse of power on the part of Reverend Ray Drennan. So initially, you know, this had nothing to do with clergy sexual misconduct at all. But, you know, as a result of, you know, interacting with Unitarian Universalists who were concerned about clergy misconduct and who basically were concerned primarily with clergy sexual misconduct, you know, I became aware of, you know, just to what extent that's also a problem within the Unitarian Universalist religious community. And in fact, it's a pretty serious problem. It may not get the attention that some other churches, clergy abuse, has received, but there's quite egregious clergy sexual misconduct that does happen. There's also quite a lot of somewhat less serious clergy sexual misconduct. You know, sort of at one end of the scale, you have Unitarian Universalist clergy making inappropriate comments to congregants and so on, making unwanted sexual advances and so on. You know, and then that can perhaps, the next stage would be unwanted actual touching, fondling, and so on. But, you know, then it runs through things like a Unitarian Universalist minister having an illicit affair with the wife of one of his congregants. And of course, you know, Unitarian Universalism being open to lesbian and male homosexual clergy and so on, you know, we can also have female Unitarian Universalist ministers making unwanted sexual advances on female congregants and so on. So you may have a broader range of clergy sexual misconduct within the Unitarian Universalist religious community than you will in others where they only have male clergy. So you know, the Roman Catholic Church only has male clergy. Now, of course, there's nuns and there's you know, issues in terms of sexual misconduct on the part of nuns, but they're not actually considered clergy to the best of my knowledge, though they're pretty darn close to it. But you know, getting back to the Unitarian Universalist religious community and its sexual misconduct on the part of clergy, they've actually been pretty successful in terms of keeping it out of the public eye, and it may be in part due to some pretty aggressive tactics on the part of the UUA. I mean, I've certainly been subjected to some very aggressive tactics on the part of the UUA. In fact, quite recently, I mean, being accused of the crime of blasphemous libel, you know, for allegedly making unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. I mean, that's taken things pretty far. You know, they're accusing me of a crime that carries a 2-year jail sentence because they're pretending, and I do mean pretending, that I've made unfounded and vicious allegations about Unitarian Universalist ministers committing pedophilia and or rape, when in fact I've done no such thing. You know, yes, I have in fact blogged about a Unitarian Universalist minister raping teenage Tibetan refugees, but my allegations were by no means unfounded. This Unitarian Universalist minister was convicted of raping teenage Tibetan refugees, and he spent some time in jail for that despicable crime. Which one? This says Unitarian perversion of justice. Sucks U asterisk U. You'll note the visual pun, perhaps.
What are we talking about?
I'm talking about Unitarian perversion of justice. But yeah, you want to know specific examples?
What does that mean?
Well, when you pervert justice, it's when you misuse the law to you know, basically you misuse the justice system, you know. You bring false allegations against someone.
Do you know Alex Jones?
Yes, I know the radio guy or TV guy or whatever, or internet commentator guy. I think he's a bit over the top.
Yeah, he is, eh? But I mean, he's factually right, though. If you
it depends. I mean,
he talked about Obamacare being a big scam a long time
No,
ago.
I know what you're saying. I guess, you know, the Unitarians, they probably see me as their Alex Jones, but
oh, this is what it is over here.
Yes, the church. Yeah, it's the Unitarian Church. Put it this way: in terms of perversion of justice, I will give you the most egregious and recent example. Alex Jones would probably love this. June last year, so 18 months ago, I received an email from a law firm, Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors. That's one of the biggest law firms in Canada. They're on the 40th floor of the CIBC Tower. And it's a cease and desist demand letter. And in it, they're accusing me of sexual harassment of female Unitarian Universalist ministers, because I said a very hypocritical minister sucks and blows at the same time, which is just hilarious, really.
Get to the literal sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I meant, you know, suck in air, blow, you know, two contradictory. You know, if they can't figure out the difference between sucking in and blowing out air,
what did they do?
Nothing. But that's the funniest example. The worst thing, the worst perversion of justice in that letter is that it went on to say, your unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape are defamatory to such an extent that they constitute blasphemous libel.
What do you give a shit about these people? Forget them. Move on with your life and go to another church.
I'm enjoying my life right now. I'm talking to you. And
no, but you know what I mean.
No, there's serious shit, and I'm dealing with it, you know.
Okay.
And
all right,
anyway,
bud, good luck.
But when you accuse someone of blasphemy for talking about clergy abuse, there's a problem. And you know, they said I was lying. I wasn't. So on that point, I have no idea. But you know, that you asked about perversion of justice. Well.
Right,
you got it. Yeah, it's basically perversion of justice to protect perverts.
That's right. All right,
You're welcome. Yeah. So yes, this is actually one of the funniest. We're almost done here for the first. Yeah. Well, that's a good way to wrap this thing up. You know, perversion of justice to protect Unitarian Universalist perverts. Essentially, that's what the UUA did when they accused me of the crime of blasphemous libel, for allegedly making unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that Unitarian Universalist ministers engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape, when the ones I spoke about actually did that. And we won't even get into other sexual perversions. But yes, that's a perversion of justice to protect perverted Unitarian Universalist ministers.